Welcome to another special episode of Roads Uncharted. I'm Vanamiri. I'm the Dungeon Master, and this special episode is going to be a continuation of the story of Eight, our Warforged in the party. Eight, if you remember from our last special episode, had set off for the eastern continent of Regiv and had left the floating isles that they had always known as their home. So, Eight, you have arrived at your destination, the port city of Harrendall. When you disembarked the airship, a wooden rope gangway led you down into the dock itself, a large room made of stone with open air windows that would allow you to look at the ocean and part of the surrounding areas below. People are bustling past you as they leave the ship, rushing to their next destination. Every once in a while, someone might push into you as they run by, and they yell out a sorry, but not really stopping to actually apologize. You've been on the ship for the past month. How do you feel?
Glad to be back on solid Earth. Definitely. S- how many people were on board the ship as passengers?
As passengers, probably about 100. It wasn't packed on your journey, like you weren't feeling like a sardine in a tin can, but you did feel the number of people in such a close quarter. You were given your own space to sleep on the ship, just like every passenger. You were given 3 meals a day if you wanted it. But as far as privacy, there wasn't a lot of it.
Well, definitely glad to be back on solid ground. I'm not much of a fan of flying, and I certainly won't be looking forward to going back home anytime soon. I think I'll probably take my time seeing what the mainland has to offer before I consider heading back.
Fair point. Fair point. So in this large room that you're in, as you see people milling about, some people are looking out the windows, other people are actually heading towards the opposite end of the room where you can see an archway. And as you go through the archway yourself, you see that it leads to an open, large stone staircase that actually heads down into the city. It's about mid morning. The sun is shining pretty brightly in the clear blue sky. It's very warm, even for this time of day, and the air, in fact, is slightly humid. When you arrive at the base of the stairs, you're standing in an open stone courtyard with tall stone buildings along its edge. And from the courtyard, three streets actually fork away from it, one to your left, one to your right, and one straight down the middle. Signs are hanging above the doorways of those stone buildings that you see in front of you, and they indicate what is inside. You can see a sign saying that one is a ticket stall and gift shop, one is a cartographer's shop, one's a tavern, one's an inn, and then lastly, a general goods store. Is there anything you'd like to do here, or would you like to head into the city proper?
Well, as I look back and forth between the different signs and think about what the options are here, the first thing I consider is that I'm headed to Saline, but I don't know which way to go. So, the first thing I'd like to do is go to the cartography shop.
Okay. So you walk up to the stone building, and the door has been painted this very pale brown, almost as if it were trying to imitate parchment itself. And when you open the door, you hear a little bell tingling, and a man stands up from behind the counter. And he's probably in his 30s. He's got very pale skin, curly blonde hair, and a very wiry beard that actually reaches down to his collarbone. He's dressed in a linen shirt and woolen pants, and he has his sleeves rolled up past his elbows. And he waves you in and says, Welcome. Uh, welcome to my cartography shop. My name's Graham. How can I be of assistance to you today?
Hello, Graham. I am 8. I am here for a map. because I am heading to the town of Saline, but I do not know how to get there. So I figured a map would be the best way to get my bearings and stay on course towards my destination. And I beam a giant smile at Graham after finishing that sentence.
Graham takes a moment and he looks you up and down and he smiles and says, "Well, 8, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Now, as much as I would hate to turn away a sale, if you're headed to Saline, all you have to do is follow the road out of the city. So you don't really need a map. However, if you do plan on going other places, I could sell you a map. I just, I'd hate to make you spend your money if all you're doing is going to Saline and then coming back. I figured you're probably going to the festival.
Yes, that was my plan. I heard from the lovely store owner up in the Giant's Fist who told me about it, and I promised I would attend, and I promised I would dance once, but I've never danced before, so that is going to be a new experience. And I just want to make sure I get there on time so that I can fulfill my promises. And I don't really know what I'm doing after the festival. How long does it last? Is it a day? A few days? Is it just a couple hours? How long is a festival typically lasting?
Well, festivals vary depending on what they're for. Some of the festivals around here can last a single day, can last up to 3 days. Now, the Festival of Aram and Saline, that one actually lasts for an entire week. It's supposed to celebrate bountiful harvest, and I think some of the ceremonies date back to when the city was first founded. So they make this big ordeal out of it. Apparently, vendors will go from all over the continent to Saline for the festival. It's a big to do. Um, so if you plan on going the whole time, you're going to expect to be there a week. Um, the festival actually starts in a couple days, and actually, if you follow like I said, if you follow the road out of the city and you head north, you should be able to reach Saline in less than 2 days travel. So
Oh, I best hurry then. My flight down took a lot longer than I hoped it would, but at the very least I'm within a couple days of the festival. So,
yeah, if you were to set out today, you would be there before the festival really started, so you should be fine. Um, and like I said, I would hate to turn away a customer, but I don't want to sell you a map of the area if you're only going to Saline, since it's very easy to get to from here. Is a map something you would still be interested in?
I would still love a map. Maybe so that I can see what else is nearby and maybe plot out an appropriate course from the city of Saline.
All right. So he turns and he starts rifling through the shelves that are behind him. And as you look, you see that many of the shelves are filled with scroll cases, and each one has some sort of inscription on it. You can't really see from here what the inscription actually says, but you see that Graham is pulling one down every so often, checking the inscription, putting it back, or he's taking it down and he's putting it on the countertop. And by the time he's said and done, he has about 4 scroll cases in front of him. And each one is made of a very nice dark wood, but there are 4 different sizes. And he starts at the left, and it's the smallest size, and he opens up the scroll case and he rolls out the map for you. And you see that it is the area around Harrendall. And you can see Saline on the map. You can see a couple of little small villages. And he says, "This is a map of the immediate area. If you plan to stick around this area, then this is what you're going to need, and that will be 5 gold." Now, and he rolls it back up and he puts it in the scroll case, goes to the next one, does the same thing. He opens it, he unrolls it, says, "This is actually a more detailed map of the surrounding region." And you can see um, how we've got all the like any of the smaller villages that are in the area are now detailed, and you can see where the names of the rivers are in the different forests.
Ooh,
That
how
will be
intricate.
50. Thank you. I try. This one would be 15. Before I show you the next two, would either of these suit your needs? Because they're only gonna get more expensive from here, and I don't know exactly what you're looking for.
It's hard to say without seeing the other ones first.
That's fair, that's fair. He rolls that map up, puts it back in the scroll, and pulls out the next one. Does the same thing. And you can see that this map now is of a much wider area. It actually encompasses most of the northeastern um, section of the continent. And he says, and it's very bare bones, much like the first one was. And he says, this one I tend to only sell for decorative purposes. As you can see, there's not much detail here, but at least you can get an idea of where we are in relation to the region. And you can see on this map 8 that down below where Graham is pointing at the very base of the map is Saline and Harrendall. So you can actually see that there's this huge region north and northwest above the two cities. And he says, this
This
map here would be 25.
this is quite decorative. Yes, this would look lovely in a hanging up in a study. Exceptional work. Yes.
Thank you, 8. He rolls that map up and puts it away. And then he takes out the final scroll work and he rolls that out. And he says, and this map, again, 8 is very similar to the second map where the third map where it shows the big area. But like the second map, it's a hell of a lot more detailed. So you've got a lot of rivers, you've got cities, you've got roads, you've got areas where it's marked, you know, uh, road closed or old mines, that kind of thing. He points this one out and he says, this is also the same region, but again, much more detailed, a little bit more useful. This one is my most recent composition. This would be 50 gold.
I screw up my face in a little frown. That would be the one I would want, but it seems that I'm unfortunately a little short on cash. So, as much as I appreciate you showing me your exceptional work, I'm afraid I will not be able to purchase anything today. But I leave 2 gold on the counter, and I smile at him and say, "You can take this as a thank you for your time and for your pleasant conversation, and so that you may be able to fund a small excursion for further cartography purposes."
He looks down at the gold and the corner of his mouth quirks up a little bit. He says, you know what, 8? And he reaches for the far left scroll casing, the one with the very base map of only the immediate surrounding area. And he pushes it towards you and says, I'll give this to you at a discount. How's that? And I'll consider this 2 gold payment. It's not often one comes around such generosity from strangers, and I feel such generosity should be rewarded. And he pockets the 2 gold and starts to put the other scroll cases away.
Thank you, Graham. And as he's setting about putting the things back, I place the other 3 gold on the counter, take the one he gave me, and I hope that business does well for you, and I hope to enjoy the festival. Take care of yourself. Next time I come through the port for another flight, I will be sure to visit. Goodbye, Graham. The door.
You're such a sneaky little thing. All right. So, all right. So you've now paid full price for something that would have been given to you at a discount. Any of the other buildings you'd like to visit before you head out into the city?
I did most of my shopping when I was still up in the Giant's Fist. I know it was a long flight, but I was told it was well stocked, so I'm assuming I haven't really needed to exhaust anything
No.
of my stores.
You probably have eaten the pie and the cheese and the bread, or at least given them up. that you received from Naomi when you left your home village, but
Right.
as far as the rest of the stuff that you purchased from the apothecary and whatnot, no, you have not needed to use up anything.
I'll have jerky.
Yes.
Jerky, I didn't need to eat it. So, excellent.
Yes.
Um, how busy is this city? Harrendall?
Right in the immediate area where this courtyard is, it's kind of like just a little area for people to meet friends and family if they're coming in or going from the city. So right now it's not too busy. Much of the crowd that had been there when you first disembarked from the airship has now dissipated. There are only a couple of people standing around talking. So it's a pretty quiet, calm area, but you can hear the sounds of the city beyond the buildings.
Okay. Um, well, if I want to make it to the festival on time, I should probably get moving very quickly. So, as much as I would like to stay and experience whatever else may be uh, offered in the city here, I would much prefer to make it to the festival in a timely manner. So, I will be consulting my map and looking for an indication of the northward direction, and I will head that way.
Well, the map itself only shows the city as a dot. It like details more about like the name of the surrounding forest and it shows the road from the city leading to Saline. It's not going to help you navigate out of the city.
Mm,
And you have three routes to choose
perhaps I
from
should
this
have
courtyard.
taken this map for the 2 gold that was offered. Roll it back up and put it back in the case and stow it. Well, I can add to this map as I travel. And can I try and use, is there any like guards or somebody who might look like they might know where they're, it doesn't even need to be someone who knows where they might look like they know where they're going. Where's the nearest person?
The well, to answer your question, yes, there are guards around. You see that there's three men stationed around the courtyard that are in dark leathers with this navy blue cloak on their backs and swords at their hip. But as far as the nearest person, you do see, excuse me, a man walking by you in a gray suit, a matching bowler's hat and bow tie, and a handlebar mustache and monocle.
Good lord. Okay. Uh,
Hey!
I walk up to this exceptionally well-dressed gentleman.
Point of order, this is not an outfit you would have ever seen before. Just gonna make that clear.
In fact, don't just walk up to him. I walk in front of him
Oh, okay.
and stop and turn and look at him. Hello, sir. I am 8, and
Oh,
I am
he steps back
traveling.
a little bit.
You look like you might know where you're going, so I figured I would ask you. Do you know which way the northern gate is that I might head to the town of Saline?
He's still kind of backed up a little bit. You did shock him. He's clutching the single red rose that he has in his hands.
It's a lovely flower that you have.
Oh, uh, thank you. I'm sorry. What did you say your name was? You startled me.
My name is 8, and I am traveling. You look like a man who knows where he is going, so I figured I would stop and ask you for assistance. I'm looking for the northern gate that I may head to the city of Saline. There is a festival happening soon, and I must be on my way very quickly to make sure that I do not miss any of the festivities. So, I was in a rush and thought I would talk to the nearest person, which also happened to be you. So I approached you and stood in front of you, and now I am telling you why I did that. Do you know which way the
Uh,
city is?
uh, I'm I'm sorry, 8. Like you, I'm a visitor to this city. In fact, I've never been on this continent. I'm from Svandov, which is on the other side of the world. I only just arrived earlier this morning. Uh, I wish I could help you, but I, you'll have to excuse me. I am very late to meet someone, and wish with that he goes around you and actually heads towards the street that's to the far left of the courtyard.
Hmm. He is late for meeting someone. With a fancy flower like that. That may be his way of trying to make a better first impression, despite being late. Hmm. Perhaps one of the look around, see the guard patrol, the sentries. Perhaps one of these fine folk can direct me in the right, can point me in the right direction. I almost said direction twice, and that was
That's all
stupid.
right. It's okay.
So I will head down the square,
Okay.
stomping my way. Um, Not because I'm literally stomping, but just because big, heavy robot feet. And I approach one of the nearest sentries and, hello, I am 8. I am traveling, and I'm looking for the northern gate that I may head to the city of Saline. Can you help me?
Um. Well, 8. If you're wanting to go to the city of Saline, and he points to the street that's in the middle of the courtyard, so the middle fork. He says, "You're gonna want to take that road, and once you get down that road, you'll start to see signs for the gate. So just follow the signs out of the city, and then from there, you just follow the road north." I mean,
Thank you very much. You've been most helpful.
you are most welcome.
And I just head that direction.
Okay. So, heading down the middle fork, the street leads you past those tall stone buildings. And as you continue to walk down the street, it actually starts to get a little wider until you reach the street that it intersects. And here you can see that the city itself has now opened up. The buildings here are much the same as what you first encountered at the dock. They're tall, made of gray stone with flat roofs. Some are only 2 levels, but most appear to be 3. And all the windows seem to be closed off. There are either curtains or they're too grimy to see it too. The streets themselves are bustling with activity as people race across from one side to the next to avoid being hit by carriages that are navigating the streets. You can see children running and playing. Some are standing at corners calling out into the public, trying to sell flowers and other small wares. Most people are wearing clothing that you're more accustomed to in Caravana, leathers and linens, nothing too fancy or ornate like at the Giant's Fist. The storefronts and open air stalls either have signage or it's very obvious what they are selling. And also along the streets, there are carriages that are parked awaiting passengers, horses tethered and munching on oats. More streets can be seen leading into other areas of the city. You can see signs that indicate where the park is, where the airship dock is, as well as where the main gate is located.
It's a lot going on. Whew. I will head just straight out the gate.
Okay. So you meander through the city following the signs that say main gate this way, main gate this way. And when you arrive at the main gate, you can see that the city is actually walled off with a very tall stone wall. And the gate itself has an iron portcullis that is currently raised and wooden doors pulled aside so that people can come and go as they please. As you walk through the gate, the city guards glance at you, but they say nothing.
I am 8. I am traveling. This way goes to Saline, so I am following this road.
The guards nod at you once, but continue to pay attention to people coming into the city.
I stop mid-step and turn around and face the nearest guard and examining the big outside wall. I look at it for a moment and I say, this giant wall is a defensible structure. Does the port experience attacks frequently that requires this type of defensive?
The guard looks at you, has an eyebrow raised and wondering why you're asking such a question. Uh, but he says to you, uh, well, the wall's there from years ago when the city was built. So, to my knowledge, no attacks have happened recently.
How long ago
Why?
was the city founded?
Uh, about oh, turns to his his partner on Sentry. He says, "Morris, how long ago was the city founded?" Well, why do you ask me? Well, this uh
8.
this eight wants to know. Well,
Name is 8.
sorry, s- eight here wants to know. Well, city was founded maybe what is it, 200 years ago now? You should know that. Our wives have been talking about the bicentennial festival that's coming up in a couple of months. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Right. Oh, well, there you go. Eight. It was founded about 200 years ago.
Fascinating. And another festival to attend. I will be back. Have a great day. And I turn and I keep walking.
Okay. Um, Once out of the city, you see that the road leads out into a wide green field, and at the far edge of that field is a forest. As you follow the road, the grass begins to get a little taller and the road forks, and you can either go to your left or you can go to the right.
Is there a sign that shows which way goes to Saline?
Yes. So the road forks, and just past the fork a little bit to your left, you do see a sign that points south and says Sarandel. And then a little to your right, you see a sign that points north saying Saline.
That way. I will be going that way.
Okay, so you're going to go to the right. Not gonna lie, I'm surprised you didn't pull out your map. Uh, so as you follow the road and the city becomes smaller and smaller in your view, you begin to hear less the sounds of the lively city and more the sounds of nature, more the sounds that you're used to. You can hear birds singing and insects whizzing by your head. The forest itself, upon entering it, is relatively bright. The foliage is less thick and cluttered compared to the forests you were traveling in not a month before. And you're able to make good progress. The day passes without much issue. Every once in a while, you pass by people riding in carts carrying goods or riding horses. They're all heading towards Harrendall. And is there anything you'd like to do on your trip, or do you want to just keep pressing forward?
Besides examining the fauna that's along the trail and stopping frequently to uh, take sketches or ink little pictures of them in my book, no. Not really too much. I must continue to press onward, unless I'm late to the festival. So, naturally I'm going to stop and draw a whole bunch of stuff along
Yeah,
the
of
way.
course, yeah. Um, I want you to do two things for me. I want you to make me a nature check, and I want you to make me a perception check.
Be happy to do both. Ooh, I rolled a 7. And a perception check. Ooh, I rolled an 11.
Okay. This is vastly different from last session. So, um, there's nothing of note that you see on your trip. Everybody that passes by kind of minds their own business. They wave to you a little bit, but there's nothing odd or different that you notice about them compared to anybody else.
Certainly would be sure to greet them on the way past.
And as far as the nature check goes, when you do stop and look at the fauna, you don't find anything that's really, nothing that appears to be useful to you. So the longer you're on the road, the thicker the forest starts to become. And after a long day of travel, as night is starting to loom closer, it's starting to get dark. The trees and the leaves up above you are very tall, but they're now very thick. And it isn't long before it starts to get dark enough where it's becoming difficult to see. The road itself may be well marked because it's clear of most brush and debris, but it's not like there are streetlights.
This may be a good time to stop and make camp if it's going to start getting dark. Or am I just
Okay.
crazy?
Uh,
Did I
it's up to you.
imagine? Did I imagine it was getting dark?
No, it is getting towards nighttime, but it's darker in the forest than it probably would be outside
Outside
at
of it.
this point in time. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, I will. I'll go ahead and collect firewood tonight. I'll make a
Okay.
fire. How many people have I passed recently? Like, is it safe to assume I might see more people this evening?
You haven't seen anybody on the road for the past couple of hours.
So I'm bound to run into someone now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and collect some firewood so that I can make a small campfire that might last for a couple hours into the
All
dark.
right. So you're making a small campfire. All right. Yeah, well no, I was just trying to think if you would have had to do a fire for several years. So I'd say by now you have a knack for it. So why don't you go ahead and roll the survival check, but give me an advantage. You can go ahead and do it at advantage.
Oh boy.
That's more what I was pausing on.
14.
So, all right, 14. So you are able to make a small fire, no issue.
Excellent. I
The
will I will set up my cooking pot and I will scrounge for some fresh water. Is there any water nearby? Maybe there isn't. Do I need to? Is there?
No.
Poop. All right. Um, I will use the water in my water skin then.
Okay. All right. You're gonna boil water?
Yeah, and I'm going to see if I can find any edibles like root veg, herbs, or other things I might be able to put in to make a little soup or stew. Soup.
All
It
right,
would
go
be a
ahead.
soup. There's nothing to thicken this monster up.
Yeah. Go ahead and make another nature check.
Only a
Oof.
7. Oh, I'm not doing so well here. Man, this is all such new and varied uh, flowers and vegetation. I'm just not used to any of this, and I don't know what anything does. So Uh, I suppose this looks okay, and I just grab a whole bunch of stuff.
And throw it into the pot?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Um, so your pot's water is boiling, the items that you collected are in the pot, and they're doing something. Is there anything that you would be doing while the food cooks?
Just watching the road for anyone else passing by. That's
Okay.
about it.
As you sit Alright, so as you sit and the food cooks, you can hear the fire crackling, and you're enjoying the nice glow that it gives off. You can hear critters scurrying in the underbrush. You can hear an owl hooting in the distance, and the whir of bats as they fly above the trees. Then suddenly, you hear the sound of a bell tinkling. It's quiet at first, but it slowly gets louder until it sounds as if it's behind you.
That's interesting. That's not a natural sound. I turn around and look.
You see nothing, and the sound has stopped.
My eyes narrow a little bit as I just kind of look out. Doesn't appear to be anything here. Okay. Well, I don't see anything, so I just look out into the dark from where the sound is coming, and I go, "Hello? Is someone there?
There's no response.
If you're there, don't be afraid to say anything. My name is 8, and I am harmless."
It's a good tactic when you're out alone on the road. Uh, you do start to hear the sound of the bell again, but you don't see anything in front of you.
And I'm still watching, but I don't see anything, huh?
You just hear it.
Is someone there? You can show yourself. I do not bite. I promise.
The tinkling gets a little louder, and it now sounds as if the noise is dancing around your head. So you'll hear it move from the right to the left, behind you, above you, but never in front.
Mm. I stand up and turn quickly, whirling around, looking upwards towards where my head was. Is the sound still dancing around my head after getting up
Yes.
abruptly? Mm. Who's there? This is quite irksome.
You start to hear and then the bell tinkling stops. And in front of you forms this small, smoky wisp. And it bobs back and forth ever so lightly. And it just sits in front of you.
There you are. Hello, I am 8. And who are you?
The wisp just sits and bobs for a little bit. And then it slowly moves closer until it's about eye level with you. And it bobs again, just gently back and forth, back and forth.
Do you have a name?
The sound of the bell goes ting-a-ling-a-ling-ling-ling, and then it just stops.
The wisp still there?
Mhm.
Shall I just call you Jingle then?
The wisp moves at that and dances around your head a little bit and then goes back down to where it first appeared to you, down closer to the ground. And it starts to grow. And as it grows, it takes the shape of a little boy. Not very clearly defined, It's not like you can see facial features, but you can see arms and legs. You can see trousers and a shirt. But any detail where the face would be is masked, and it tilts its head as it looks at you.
You take many forms, don't you, Jingle?
I am a guardian of the forest. My name is not Jingle.
What is your name?
I don't really have one, but Jingle would not be it.
Well, if you do not have a name, perhaps Jingle is your name.
No, I don't like that.
Oh, well, I suppose that's fair. I would not want to be called something I did not care for.
What are you doing in the forest at night?
I am traveling northward. I figured I would light a fire and offer comfort and light to anyone else passing by.
The smoky child, the guardian of the forest, as they said, leans around you and looks at your fire, your cooking pot, and then leans back and tilts their head up towards you. And again, keeping the faces, there's no facial features at all. But the rest of the body has started to show more details. So you could actually see the outline of those trousers. You can see the little button down shirt. You could see suspenders. The child turns to you and says, "If you make me something warm and tasty, I shall offer protection from the wild beasts that roam. I see you are not properly equipped to keep them at bay.
Is it common for the animals to attack travelers?
Most people don't wander the roads alone.
I see. Well, I do not have many friends, or any friends, so I travel alone because of this. I suppose I can try and make food for you, so that you might be my friend. And I turn and walk over to the pot, and I look to the wispy thing, and back to the pot, and I say, I grabbed some things from the forest. I'm not sure how tasty they are yet, but. And I unclasp the mask from my hip, put it on, and I cast Create Food and Water, and I make a pasty substance from my hands, kind of wiggling my fingers as I do it, and squirt these weird food pieces into the boiling water with the different roots and plants that I gathered up from it. And I start to stir it with a spoon that I pop out as I flick my wrist, and it shoots out of a compartment in my arm gauntlet into my hand. And I just start stirring the water. And I turn and motion with my other free hand for the wisp to join me near the pot.
Um, when you turn back to the wisp to draw their attention to the pot, you notice that now instead of trousers and linen shirt, the child is wearing a miniature suit of armor. And when they start walking towards you, you actually start hearing a faint clank of metal against metal as they walk. The child sits down on the ground, and you can hear a slight thump as they do so. And you hear a "Mhm."
Excited, huh?
Most people don't make me food. They don't like to see me on the road.
Well, why not? You seem polite enough.
Hmm, something about there being rumors of demons.
Oh,
And when the child turns to you, um, There are now red eyes as the first feature in the face.
It, if you were a demon, you would tell me, correct?
Maybe. The wisp reaches into the pot and grabs a big handful of what's inside and pulls their cupped hands towards their face, and you start to hear the sound of munching, and you can see that much of what was in the pot is actually seeping through the smoky hands and falling onto the ground. It doesn't appear like the wisp is actually eating anything,
Okay.
but the noises are there. And the wisp does this a couple more times and then turns to you and rubs their belly and says, that was tasty, 8.
Good. I'm glad you think so. I was a bit worried because, frankly, I did not know what any of the things I grabbed actually taste or offer to a culinary concoction. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Hmm.
Now, you said you have no name, but do people call you anything?
They call me lots of things, but I prefer my title over theirs. And the wisp looks at you, and this time the very faint outline of a mouth has appeared.
What do people call you? Or what is your title, I should say. Sorry.
Well, I told you I'm the guardian of the forest.
Not much of a title now, is it? It's more of a descriptor of what you actually are.
The wisp puts their hands on their hips, kind of like a petulant child. Guardian is a very important title, 8. And to be guardian of the forest is very important around here.
Of, of course, I meant absolutely no. I meant no disrespect by saying such a thing, but I realize being a guardian is very important, but I didn't realize it was an honorific more than it was just a job title. Your title's better than mine, anyways.
What's your title?
8.
That's a name. That's not a title.
Some people would say it's a number, but it is both a name and a title. And a number, so I suppose you could say it's all three.
Mm. I like you, 8. Would you like to come with me?
Uh, where would we go?
To my home.
I might like that, but I was headed towards the city of Saline for a mortal festival, and I need to make sure that I get there before the festival starts in a few days.
The wisp smiles, and the mouth opens, and you can see a set of jagged teeth. And the wisp said, I like you, 8. I want to take you home. And the smoke grows and envelops you. And for a while, you can't see anything in front of your face. Even if you were to put your hand a few inches away from your eyes, you wouldn't be able to see anything. And when the smoke dissipates, you find you are seated in the middle of a park. And there are people sitting on blankets having picnics, and it is the middle of the day. And there are other people sitting on wooden benches, and they're talking and laughing. Can see children playing in the fields. And you are sitting in the middle of this park, with your fire and your cooking pot in the exact same position that you were in only moments before.
Wisp there?
Nope,
Guardian, where are you?
there's no response.
This is problematic. I stand up and kind of look around. Does this park look like where I was in the city just earlier today? Or is it just kind of a plaza slash park?
Well, considering you didn't actually go to the park at the city, I would say that you don't know that you're there necessarily, but you do see the man that you ran into with the rose sitting at one of the benches, and he is by himself.
I run over in front of him. I run over in front of him and uh, stand directly in front of him again on the bench, and I lean in and wave at him urgently.
Oh, hello, 8.
Hello. Uh,
I
what?
thought you were headed to Saline.
I was. What day is it?
Uh,
Did you just arrive today?
yes. I saw you not an hour ago.
Interesting. I look to the sky. Is there anything strange about the air or the sky above me or anything around me that I might notice if I examine it?
No, everything looks the same as it did earlier today.
This is very interesting. Sir, who are you meeting?
Um, my pen pal, Margaret. I've never met her before. We've been corresponding the last few years, and I finally was able to save enough to come here and meet her. Although he pulls out a pocket watch and he flips it open and looks at the clock. Although she's an hour late.
Oh, and you were late as well. Were you not?
No, I was on time.
Oh. Does hmm, does Mar does Margaret live here in the city?
No, she lives somewhere on the eastern continent. We were supposed to meet here because it was easier for us both to get to.
Oh, I'm
He's
sorry.
lowering his head as he continues to talk, and his shoulders are slumping down, and the rose you can see is starting to droop a little bit.
I'm sure that there was just some difficulty with her airship. I would not worry yet. It's, it's just an hour. Perhaps it situation will resolve itself.
Perhaps you're right.
I wish I could do something more for you, but unfortunately, I cannot.
8. Why did you come over here and ask me what day it was?
I have already left the city, and I traveled for a whole day to the forest to the north.
He quirks his head a little bit and he furrows his eyebrows. You did?
I did. I stopped and made camp when night fell, and I was entertaining a strange guest. They called themselves the Guardian of the Forest,
At
and
that, his eyebrows shoot up at that.
made a positive impression, it would seem. And the strange wisp seems to have sent me back here, and somehow I have gained my day back that I spent traveling.
8. This guardian of the forest that you ran into, what did it look like?
Puff of smoke. It had friendly red eyes and teeth that were pointed, like they would be excellent for tearing and chewing. But mostly it was small and everything about it was vague, like a memory, except for the face, which was impossible to discern any real features on.
Hmm. He scratches his chin and he plays with the edges of his mustache. And he looks at you and he says, Eight, have you ever heard of the Onimarshu?
Excuse me?
Have you ever heard of the Onimarshu?
I cannot say that I have. Is it good?
Not quite. Um, Margaret told me about it once. Apparently, around here, there are legends of a creature, a troublemaker, an imp almost, can take various forms, and they like to make trouble for travelers that aren't prepared. Um, they have been known to take people away to what they call their home, and honestly, I couldn't tell you what it looks like because nobody that has been taken to their home has ever returned. I'm actually quite surprised that you managed to arrive here and, according to you, back in time. That's unheard of. But what you describe sounds like the Onimarshu, based on what Margaret has told me.
Well, this strange imp did say it wanted to take me home before I found myself here. Are you sure that you're real? And I lean forward and poke him on the shoulder with one finger.
How hard do you poke him?
Lightly, but
It,
with enough force to actually feel if something's solid or not.
well, he's solid. And in fact, he looks down at his shoulder and looks up at you and kind of has this face that makes you think, how rude.
I'm sorry. You are real.
Eight, do you have any holly bush and red ribbon on you?
Uh, do I?
Do
No,
you?
I. If I have anything, it might be Hollybush, but I don't think I have either of those things on hand.
No, you don't.
Okay.
uh, Eight, um, he looks around and stands up. He puts the rose on the bench, takes out a piece of parchment and writes a quick note and sets it next to the rose and says, That should suffice until we get back. Follow me. You might want to grab your cooking pot.
Uh, okay. I gather up the cooking pot and everything. Was the fire still going under it?
Yes.
Okay. I dump the contents out over the fire
Okay.
and just kind of hold it in front of me by the handle. And I turn to the gentleman I'm with and say, "This is hot. Do not touch it."
All right. Um, Follow me. And he leads you out of the park back into the courtyard that you were in earlier this morning. And he takes you into the general goods store. And as you walk through the door, you hear another bell tinkling. And up ahead of you, you see a man behind the counter. He's kind of short, probably about 5'4", slender and very dark skinned. And next to him is a woman who is very petite, actually a few inches shorter than him, and she's very pregnant, and her chestnut hair is tied up into a bun at the base of her skull. And they both smile at the two of you when you arrive, and the man says, Lionel, good to see you again. I didn't think I'd see you so soon. What else can I get for you? And Lionel turns to you and then turns to the two of them. Eight, this is John. He's the owner of the establishment. This is Holly, his wife. They're very good people and should be able to get you what you need. John, Holly, um, eight here needs some red ribbon and a holly bush. Oh,
I was
going into the
attacked by
forest,
an
huh?
imp.
They both stop and turn and look at each other and then look back at you. And Holly waddles a little closer to you and she's holding her belly with both her hands and she says, You were attacked?
Well, I was brought back here by an imp. You see, I left a day ago, but now I'm back here, and it's earlier in the day from when I left.
Lionel leans in. I believe he ran into an Onimarshu, but it brought him here instead of wherever they take people. Holly waves to her husband, who goes off to get the ribbon and the holly bush, and she turns and looks at you and says, What did you say your name was?
Is 8.
Eight, you're a warforged, right?
Uh, I am a person.
What are your components?
Excuse me.
Well, um, I see some of the metal. Your core, what is your core made of?
My hands on my approximation of a belly, and look back to this woman and say, I, I do not, I do not know. I do not understand the pertinence of the question. What is your core made of?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I'm just, as Lionel said, I've never heard of an Onimarshu taking someone and not taking them from this world. So the fact that you're here means that there was something about you that couldn't be treated the same way. I would guess. I forgive me. Hormones messing with my thought processes. Apologies.
Hmm. Is that what you call that bump?
Oh, have you have you never met someone who is pregnant?
What is... Oh, I've read about this. Yes, I have never met anyone who is in this shape.
Mm. Anyway, if you'll forgive me, Eight. And
Well,
just as she's finishing this up, John comes up with the ribbon and the holly bush, and he leans forward and he ties it and pins it to your vestments. And he says, "Keep that on until you reach Saline. Since you were heading, since you ran into an Onimarshu, I'm going to guess that that's where you were heading."
that is a good guess. I am going for the festival.
Mm.
It's okay because I have not lost any time, so I will be able to make it there with plenty to spare.
If you keep this on, nothing will harm you. The Onimarshu are thankfully only a nuisance of the region. I don't know why they haunt that part of the forest, but they do. And you do well anytime that you travel in that area to have the holly bush and the ribbon.
Does anyone know where they came from?
No, we know so little about them, considering anyone who's ever run into them either survives barely or is never seen again.
Hmm. Well, when I run into another one, I will ask them why they do these things to good folk.
Yes, you do that. Um, is there anything else we can get for you while you're here?
I look at the man apparently named Lionel. Is there anything else I should have?
No, unless you need provisions. You should be fine.
Then I should be fine. Thank you.
Right. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a couple copper pieces and slides it across the countertop. And he turns to you and says, "Well, I'm going to go back to my bench 8. Hopefully see Margaret. I wish you luck on your second attempt."
I wish you luck on your arranged meetup.
He nods and leaves the shop.
And I wish you good luck with your hormones.
Holly giggles a little bit, um, and waves goodbye as you leave.
Back out in the street, I look to get my bearings again and head back to the same gate that I left earlier.
The same gate is there, the same guards are there, everything around you is the exact same as it was this morning.
Hello. I wave and I just pass back along the road past them.
Again, they nod, but otherwise don't make conversation, don't say anything to you.
And I will just do largely the same thing I did the other day. Actually, that's a great question. Are the drawings I did in my book still there?
No, the ones you made on your trip are no longer there.
Well, I could probably improve on those pictures anyways. I will be doing the same thing, stopping and drawing the same stuff that I've passed from before.
Okay. So again, the passage is the same. You walk past the grass fields, turn to the right when the road forks, you head into the forest. As the day goes by, you see travelers. Make a perception check.
I rolled a 6.
You are doing wonderful today. Uh,
Worse than before.
yeah, worse than your 11. Um, so you see nothing strange about these travelers. Again, they nod to you, they wave as they walk by, but there's no further interaction. Even when you say hello, maybe someone will tip their hat, but again, you've spent the whole day traveling. And again, it is very dark inside the forest. Do you again stop to make camp?
Do.
Okay. And do you want to forage again for anything to cook?
This time, no.
All right.
Sit and wait with the campfire going.
Okay. The evening passes for the most part. The sounds of nature at night return just as they had before. The fire crackles and glows softly. And you hear someone coming down the road. And at first it's quiet, it's a very steady beat. And then as they get closer, the beat slows down until standing nearby, you see a woman on a black horse. And she waves to you and says, "Good evening.
Good evening, I wave back. I am 8, and this is my campfire.
Um, do you mind if I stop for a little while and just get warm?"
Not at all, please, help yourself. There's plenty of light and warmth to go around.
Perfect. She dismounts and leads the horse a little closer, and ties it up against one of the nearby trees. And she sits next to you, and you see that she's soaked to the bone. Her hair is drenched and plastered to her face. Her clothes are dark and very wet looking. She looks at you and says, "I had a mishap in the river a few miles back, and it got dark quickly, and I couldn't get dry. Um, so I'll just stay long enough to warm myself. You don't have to worry about talking to me or anything. I mean, unless you want to, but you're not required." She leans forward and tries to warm herself up.
What's your name?
Oh, um, my name is Jessica.
Horse's name.
Mm. This is Byron.
Hmm. It's an interesting name for a creature of that type.
Why? What's wrong with Byron?
Just nothing wrong with it. It's just more difficult to say than horse.
I mean, I suppose that's fair, but um, Byron was the name of my father's horse, and I named this one after that horse. I guess you could say I wasn't very creative. Reaching for nostalgia, I suppose.
Seems so. But that's okay. If the name means something to you, then there's nothing wrong with that. Jessica, did Byron throw you into the river?
Oh, no, I stopped to walk across the river with Byron. You often don't want to ride a horse across a river, and I slipped on some stones and got drenched for it.
I see. And where are you headed?
Oh, I'm just headed to Harrendall.
What a coincidence. I just came from there.
Oh, you did?
I flew from the islands way up in the sky and just landed on the mainland today.
Oh, you're from the floating islands. What what are they like?
Uh, Largely similar to this, except high up.
Oh, so nothing, no strange beasts with weird features, no eggs walking on two legs. I've heard some strange stories about the floating islands.
That's a strange thing to talk about. No, I can't say I've ever run into walking eggs in my time, but I have not traveled too much. You see, this is probably my, let's see. This is my 34th day since I've left home.
Oh, um, well, it's a long time to be from home.
That's true. I have not traveled much at all, so this is all wholly new to me. And it's been very fun to meet new people and experience different things, but I am traveling to see the world and learn more. So here I am, heading north to the city of Saline, and meeting people like you along the way.
Oh, are you going for the festival of Aram?
I am. I promised someone up in the floating islands that I would go to a festival and dance for them.
Well, that isn't that nice. Um, 8, do you mind if I you wouldn't happen to have a cooking pot, would you?
I do.
I have some things that I could cook and share, but I don't have a pot.
Oh, of course.
Mine went down the river.
You know, a shame. Um, I can set mine up, yes. And I would be happy to help you cook.
Well, thank you, 8. Um, hold just a moment. And she gets up and goes to her packs, and she pulls out some um, herbs and a little bit of spice. And she also pulls a hair off the back of the horse. And she turns to you and says, someone gave this to me in trade for um, in trade for my hairbrush, believe it or not. Wish I hadn't done that. But I figured we could make some rabbit stew.
You pulled a hair from the horse. Oh, hair. Hare. Gotcha.
Yes.
I thought we were like plucking a hair from the horse. Like,
No.
it's like, what are we doing with that? All right, that makes more sense. Whew.
Ah,
Sounds lovely. I set up the pot and set about trying to get some like wood to make a small fire.
a bigger one.
Oh right, I did make a fire. Holy shit. Okay. I yeah, I add some more wood to the fire and put the pot in it and
Okay.
use my water from the water skin to fill the pot.
Okay. She tosses the spices and the herbs in, and she takes to skinning the rabbit, and she puts the meat in and then takes the rest of the offal and places it in a cloth sack and puts it in her pack. She says, those are good if you dry them up and grind them into powder. It's a good protein supplement.
Hmm. I will make a note of that. And I literally make a note of that in my book.
Okay. Um, so for the next hour, she helps you cook the stew, and you learn that she's traveling from one of the small villages westward. She had passed through Saline just the other day, or just just the other day, and um, she's telling you how they were setting up for the festival and how there were streamers going up and ribbons and banners and everything was brightly colored. And she, when the stew is done, pulls out a bowl and she turns to you and says, would you like some?
Of course, but not until after you serve yourself.
Oh, well, and she reaches into her pack. I have a second bowl.
Yes, but I would like you to get your portion first.
All right. She takes the bowl and she just dips it into the pot and she blows on it a little bit and starts to slowly sip the soup.
I mimic all of those actions. From scooping to blowing on the bowl and sipping and then eating the food in a likewise manner.
When she's done with the bowl, she sets it down and stands up and walks away from you just far enough away where she can wring her hair out without getting it everywhere, all over your campsite. And she pats down her pants and her shirt, and she says, "Well, um, 8, thank you for the company, and thank you for letting me use your fire and your cooking pot. Um, but I need to keep going. I need to get to Harrendall before it gets too late."
Do you have to get there this evening? It's dangerous to travel in these woods by yourself.
Oh, she reaches over and pats Byron on the neck, and when the horse turns to face you, you see that there's red ribbon and holly bush tied to the bit and the reins. And she says, "Byron and I are well protected, but I thank you for your concern."
I am glad to see you'll be safe. Um, do do you need a pot for your journey? You can take mine.
"Oh, no, no, it's all right. It won't take me much longer to get to Harrendall. Just I'll be there by morning, and my sister will be there, and we're heading out down to the southern part of the continent, you see. We're going to my sister's getting married in a few days, and we need to leave in the morning, which is why I need to travel all night."
Well,
The river delayed me a little bit.
best of luck to you, and be safe.
"Thank you." She mounts the horse and she says, oh, wait, and dismounts again, gets down and takes her bowl, and she turns to you. "Do you want to keep that, or shall I take that?"
I would prefer you take what you have with you, especially if you will be traveling with another person.
"Thank you, Aid." She takes the bowl from you, packs everything up in Byron, and she reaches into her pack and she comes back to you and holds out her hand, and it's wrapped around something small. "Would you open your hands?"
I do.
She drops what she was holding into your hands, and when you look at it, it's just a round stone, very smooth, and it looks to have rippling in it as if it was made of layers.
I look at her quixotically and say, "What's this? A stone?"
Um, it is. It's a wishing stone. Um, they are all over my village, and it's part of our legend that if you make a wish on this stone, um, supposedly they come true. um, I figured your generosity required some generosity back, so I I'm giving you this, and if you make a wish, then I hope it comes true. If not, it will be a hopefully a nice reminder of our evening together.
How does it work, the wishing?
Supposedly you just hold it and you rub it with your thumb, and then make your wish, and at some point, it's supposed to come true.
I see. Well, I will be sure to use it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. She mounts Byron, and as she trots off, she looks back and she waves to you.
Free hand, and I start rubbing the wishing stone with my thumb in the other. And I think my wish will be that I wish Jessica and her sister make it to the wedding safe.
Aw.
My only wish.
um, well, you didn't ask her how many wishes you get.
Well,
You just-
I after making my wish, I put it in my bag.
When Jessica is no longer in sight and you're at peace with the sounds of the forest and the darkness outside of the glow of your fire, you hear a whoosh and a thunk, thunk, thunk. And when you turn and look behind you, you see a horse and two people laying on the ground. And
Oh,
that is where we will end our session. So I want to thank everybody for listening, and we will be following up soon with more Roads Uncharted adventures. Thanks.